Welcome to the B2T show, and this is Rick, your host, here on Wednesday, September 11th. And we are talking about G7 wins. But obviously it's a somber day in many ways, but at least it softened some of the 9/11 blow. All of us know that are listening to this broadcast probably know there's a lot of things wrong with 9/11. Most likely a New World Order hit job. I don't like to say government hit job as much as I talk about the cabal control of all that. It is really with the CIA, the C_A, everything we're studying right now. We're going to get into SB2 Decode. That is exciting, but first we do want to start talking about a little bit of the 9/11 and some of the awesome tributes that happened today, etc. So we have quite a few people on already. Thank you so much. Caffeine Addict's coming on early. We got White Tea Pepper. And what do we got? We got from Michigan, Eric Youngblood. Thank you for all being on. Aurora, Colorado. Where are we at? Sacramento, California. We're looking at Montana, Aurora, Colorado. I guess again, Alberto, Albuquerque, Indiana, Georgia. Thank you guys for all being here. Minnesota's in the house. Got Cumming, Georgia in the house. Vegas, Las Vegas is in the house. Thank you. Sydney, Australia. Paul, thank you for joining all the way from Sydney. Baytown, Texas, Oregon, Nevada, Northern California, Atlanta, Tippy Top, Texas. All right, let's get rolling here. So again, if we look here, we know that we have had the coats before D-class. We saw something from 8chan on their Twitter today, so I think things are heating up there. EOT Dave, thanks for being here. It's been a very emotional day here in upstate New York, I bet, EOT Dave. No question about it. And along those lines, here is a little video that Trump tweeted out. Let's listen.
Today our nation honors and mourns the nearly 3,000 lives that were stolen from us on September 11th, 2001. For every American who lived through that day, the September 11th attack is seared into our soul. As we gather at this moment, we are reminded that there is no greater testament to our fallen heroes than the presence of their families who knew and loved them so much. We are now and will forever be one American family, united by patriotism, bound by destiny, and sustained by the faith of Almighty God. Today and every day we pledge to never, ever forget.
Never forget. There's Rocky even barking out there. But I tell you what, it is serious stuff here, guys, where we, and I'm going to go over quite a bit more on the 9/11 stuff here before we get into the SB2 Decode. But the U.S. Air Force saying, we pause to remember September 11th. Never forget. Hashtag never forget. Today, our nation saw evil, the very worst of human nature, and we responded with the best of America, with the daring of our rescue workers, with the caring for strangers and neighbors who came to give blood and help in any way they could. And I tell you what, that is exactly what we saw, and that's why I have this background here, kind of commemorating this really what happened there with, and it's really even more upsetting when you really realize who was behind it. Right, and I think that is going to be all coming out soon. I think this G7 Decode just shows the winning and the power that's being taken away from really this deep state cabal. And it's exciting to see. So let's keep our heads up from that standpoint that we are going to get to know the truth. Some of the heroes of the movement. Here's Bill Cooper. Milton prediction 9/11. Your government is selling your children drugs and you don't seem to care. Your own government has given away the power of the people and you don't seem to care. We are truly now a nation of sheep, and ladies and gentlemen, I assure you that the sheep are always led to slaughter, but it does not have to be this way. So when he says that, and he obviously died right after 9/11, a very fishy thing. He wrote, "Behold a pale horse." He also said, "Be prepared for a major attack." This was on 6/28/01. Be prepared for a major attack, but it won't be Osama bin Laden. It will be those behind the New World Order. Whatever is going to happen, that they are going to blame on Osama bin Laden, Don't you even believe it. On 6/28/01, Milton William Cooper predicted upcoming governmental false flag and named CIA operatives Osama bin Laden as scapegoat. On 9/11, Osama bin Laden was blamed for the WTC false flag. On 11/5/01, Milton William Cooper was shot dead. Whew! So I just ordered his. I have not ever read that book. So I ordered it today. Behold a Pale Horse in honor of William Bill Cooper. I'm gonna read that book. We'll get through it. Also, I also have a whole nother book I'm reading. Stephen Quayle. I don't know if you've heard of that guy, but this is more about Beneath the Ice, about who really won World War II, and so it's really wild stuff that I'm red pilling myself on. I'll let you guys know as I continue to get smarter on some stuff I'm not as smart on now. And hey, but something I am smart on, and that is gold. Nothing invokes a full-scale panic like Wall Street panicking, but quietly, secretly, as you watch this, within view of the full markets, that is exactly what the U.S. corporate insiders are doing. They call it financial prepping or being cautious or protecting their assets and all sorts of other fancy explanations, but make no mistake, this is controlled panic. CNN reported $600 million of stock has been sold each day since August. This only happens previously before the 2008 crash. Insider selling has topped $10 billion for 5 straight months. Meanwhile, gold is skyrocketing, and demand is at a 3-year high according to the World Gold Council. The rise in the price of gold and silver shows no sign of slowing down anytime soon. Investors seeking shelter for their stocks they cashed in are piling into precious metals, which have risen 32% since August last year. Precious metals, gold and silver, as an IRA or 401k rollover, will keep your money safe and help you ride out this latest storm, as they have always done. But you need to get to act fast, so call Noble Gold right now at 877-646-5347 and ask them to move your money to safety. And make sure you let them know Blessed Teach called you. Or you can hit the link below. There's a link right down below here in the video. Someone will contact you, and that's a YouTube video. And we'll get a free gold and silver investment guide that has been downloaded over 50,000 times. Again, call 877-646-5347 or hit the link below and get that free guide. There's the number right there, 877-646-5347 for those of you looking at the screen. All right, let's continue to talk a little bit. We went through the Bill Cooper. During the 1990s, Cooper would be broadcasting a nightly radio show called The Hour of Time. I'm going to blow the size of this text up for you guys a little bit. See if that'll help. There it is. As an already established author and former naval intelligence veteran, he quickly captivated his audience with various subjects of interest. This was happening before the internet took off and information was harder to come by, so people were turning in Monday to Friday, eager to find out truth. On his June 28, 2001 podcast, he went on to predict 9/11, adding that the U.S. government would attempt to use Osama bin Laden as a scapegoat. And here's that quote again. I'm telling you to be prepared for a major attack, but it won't be Osama bin Laden. It will be those behind the New World Order. Whatever is going to happen that they are going to blame on Osama bin Laden, don't you even believe it. Osama bin Laden was a CIA agent. Tim Oltmann has and died in 2001. Here's a proof. You can go look at another link about Osama bin Laden being a CIA or C_A, as we call it, agent. Less than 11 weeks later, his predictions would turn out to be fatally true. With a critical eye, Cooper examined the tense situation and connected the bits of information from sources. This allowed him to deconstruct the lies fed to the general public and construct this theory. Naturally, he was a thorn in authorities' spine. In July of 1998, Cooper was charged with tax evasion. A warrant for his arrest was issued but never executed. As a consequence, he was considered one of America's major fugitives and became a prime target of the U.S. Marshal Service in the year 2000. Cooper candidly spoke about his situation and became convicted. He was being actively targeted by President Clinton's administration and the IRS. After this tragic events of September 11th unfolded, Cooper's radio show attempted to expose the massive conspiracy that led to the attacks. He pointed his finger at the federal government, accusing the authorities of planning the terrorist move and duping American citizens and the rest of the world into believing a fabricated story. This allowed them to sway public opinion in the favor and execute their plan. In his final broadcast on November 5th, 2011, Bill Cooper talked about planning to write a book detailing his tour of duty in Vietnam. He said he was dedicating it to everyone who had served during the war. Later evening, while he was in his home in Eager, Arizona, the Apache County Sheriff's Department paid him a visit. He had been accused of brandishing a gun around, and the police officers had a warrant for his arrest. However, the police officers pulled up in unmarked vehicles without wearing uniforms and used trickery to draw him out. Sources claim the officers positioned themselves in a cul-de-sac often frequented by teenagers who would party and leave trash behind. The officers began making a lot of noise, and Cooper came out to confront them, believing they were nothing more than drunken juveniles. The officers would not identify themselves, so Cooper threatened to call the police. As he was heading back inside, shots were fired. The outcome saw a police officer being killed, but so was Cooper. Nobody knows who fired the first shot, and it was unclear whether Bill Cooper carried a gun at the time of his death. The mystery surrounding Cooper's death has led many to believe it was not accidental, but rather carefully planned and executed plot to remove an undesirable element. So that I'll put the link into the show notes again. Go to blessed2teach.com with the number 2, blessed2teach.com. Sign for the email list. You'll get those to you all the time. You get SB2 decodes, etc., as well as Gene's decodes, which had a great one last night. So if you missed last night's show, go back and get that. There was some heavy hitter information in that. Here's Charlie Kirk saying 7 years ago today, 4 Americans were killed in Benghazi. No one ever held accountable for not protecting our U.S. ambassador. The Obama administration engaged in countless lies to cover up the tragedy, and Hillary Clinton has still never been held accountable. Outrageous. All right, so that's it's not just 9/11 from 2001. There's also a huge tragedy 7 years ago today. Look what 8chan says. Let's roll. Rest in peace, 9/11 victims. Thank you, Todd Beamer. So there you go, guys. We have 8chan saying, let's roll. So it should be coming up soon, I would guess, based upon this tweet that came out today. What a great time to have it come rolling back in as this happens. And then you'll see, this is what I'm talking about, the softening the blow of 9/11 is this SB2 decode. This is Trump's big victories at G7, Part 3, the power of Melania's wardrobe. So this is real interesting. Let's dig in. You like fashion and beauty? If you do, you're in for a treat. I had the opportunity in previous articles to mention how the First Lady made her clothing choices through the combination of beauty and powerful symbolism. In this article, this is a past SB2 article, I walked you through the coded messages hidden in Melania's Hermes Birkin bag, and she and POTUS visited 10 Downing Street on June 4th, 2019. I told you how it was connected to her Ralph Lauren smooth criminal look, and Giza of her Celine shirt dress, and landing in Ghana, and gave you the real meaning of the pith helmet she wore in Kenya, and about which she was criticized by the low IQ fake news. Today I'll go further. In part 2, I told you how POTUS freed France from the cabal during his first meeting with President Macron. After this exchange, those who follow French politics have seen Macron's surprising and spectacular 180 on retirement age, and this is only the beginning of a long list of positive changes. If somehow that explosive could have happened a few minutes before the maestro started his G7 meetings, can you imagine the magnitude of what happened during the G7 when it ended? I showed you this image. And this is the significance of Macron wearing the Awake Watch. Remember, we went through that last week. Notice any similarities, do you? So you see all the sun in the background. Similar to this, right? And it says, notice the similarities. We are talking to you. Trust the plan. Q. Then down here, looking at these New World Order guys, including the control when they had Kim, it said, as the world turns means as the world joins the Great Awakening. And then you see, as Kim turns to the Great Awakening, right? Flowers and gardens. And here you have, look at this, the Awake Watch is being worn. Look at that Awake Watch. Obviously, he was told to wear that. It's got really wild colors and everything. And his glass is on his glass is on the ground. Water down, not on table. Weakness, defeated, submission. Thanks for playing. So the significance of wearing the Awake Watch, his water being on the floor, and how it connected to watch the water in Q847. Did you take it further? Do you remember the Trump-Pence water episode in June 6, 2018, when POTUS and FLOTUS held a meeting at the FEMA NRCC? Watch the Fake News reported it.
Tonight, one thing is obvious. The vice president is in sync with his commander-in-chief. Here's Jeannie.
Ladies and gentlemen, we present synchronized water bottle stashing. First, the president ditched his, then the vice president followed suit. In no time, the internet bottled and preserved the moment.
It's a plan for the whole community. It's a plan that I'd like.
It happened at a FEMA briefing on hurricane season. It was at the Response Coordination Center, noted One Eagle Eye. And boy, were these two coordinating their response. As one Twitter user reminisced, didn't you ever play that game as a kid where you mirror everything your sibling or friend does until they wallop you? The one who got walloped here was Vice President Pence by Jimmy Kimmel.
It's like Trumpy see, Trumpy do. He's for sure a Westworld robot, right?
The VP has perfected the adoring gaze and has been known to pick up on the president's gestures. Get the point? The point of getting rid of the water bottles was probably to make for a neater photo op. Now you see the bottle, now you don't. It seems like the president's relationship with water runs hot and cold. His watery antics are always going viral, from his dainty swig to his two-handed sip. And then there's the president's odd habit of moving things, anything, a few inches here, a few inches there, but this time out of sight, complete with a sight of Vice President Pence mimicking the move. Flunky see, flunky do was someone's mean take on the moment. A more charitable one? Who the heck is under the table that was so thirsty? One guess, little Marco Rubio. Jeannie Mo, CNN, New York.
There's the fake news making fun of everything, and we know what that means when he's drinking there was SB2 Decode, by the way, on the drink of that, right? And his double fisting, etc. But this says SB2 continues. As you can see, the Macron's confirmation, the water on their table episode was a rippling effect. Did you notice Melania's pick was a Celine trench coat? Where else did she wear it? Yes, when visiting 10 Downing Street, June 4th, 2019. Look, so there she is in that trench coat, right? And here she is again, and that was June 6th, 2018. And then June 4th, the UK visit, it was there too, but with different accessories, right? Why is FLOTUS wearing the same Celine trench coat with different accessories at a UK state visit 364 days after the FEMA meeting? If you notice, her belt went from light brown to black. And know some martial arts, you will see this change symbolizes progression, advancement, or increase in power, as mentioned in the Decode about the Maestro's victory in the UK and its connection to Melania's Birkin bag. So there you go. You got these belts in karate. You go from obviously all the way from white all the way to brown and black. So when she went from the light brown to the black, that's progression and power. UK state visit, you can see black purse, black shoes versus all the brown shoes and brown accessories. And here is the tweet from Trump talking about a 50-second video, basically saying USS state visit, UK victory. We talked a lot about that in previous decodes. Now that we have made this amazing discovery, what do we do? We build a timeline starting with FEMA meeting on June 6, 2018, and passing through the 10 Downing Street visit on June 4, 2019. By doing so, the plan manifests in its glory and displays markers of military precision in POTUS's fight for freedom. The military precision. So here you can see, we went from June 6th in the FEMA meeting to the June 25th Iran protests. That's 19 days. And you look over here, you got November 17th, 2018, this France Yellow Vest protest starts. That's 165 days. Then you see March 31st, 2019, the Hong Kong protest starts. That's 298 days from the FEMA meeting with the water going down. June 4th, 2019, we see the UK freed. And again, that from the FEMA camp, that is 364 days, as we just discussed. And then you have Macron with the Wake Watch, August 26, 2019, France freed, 447 days. If you use this Gematria method of what they call progressively secured, so you take 1 and 9 hasn't been used, then you take, 1's already been used, so you take 6 and 5, and then you come down here, you've already used the 9, so you take the 2 and 8, and here you go. Well, you've already used the 6, so you just take 3 and 4, and here you've already used the 4, so you just take the 7. You take that, and you actually get the 1, 9, 6, 5, 2, 8, 3, 4, 7. That is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 when reorganized, all secured. So the decoded message is a number of days between each significant marker of the plan, and the initial FEMA meeting brings an incremental, non-repeated information from the sequential 1 through 9. This non-random feature validates each date, confirms the power logic running the plan, and provides the hints to dismiss an explanation based on coincidence. I thought that was pretty amazing, guys. When I read this morning, it was like, wow, we're talking about the precision of a plan. But it's just really cool to see this progression going from this FEMA with the waters down to the Iran protests, to the French Yellow Vest, to the Hong Kong protests, the UK being freed, to France being freed. This is dominoes coming down. And when all these markers were secured on his political timeline, the maestro went back to FEMA on September 1st, 2019 to give an update while VP Pence was representing him in Poland. Do you know why? What if I told you this was a planned choreography to provide the confirmation that the storm has arrived and that we should trust the plan? Look, the plan, the Dorian update. So here you have him in FEMA on June 6, 2018, the start. And he went to, again, the Iran protests in June 25th, 2018. France Yellow Vest at November 17th, 2018. Then in 2019, we had March 31st, the Hong Kong protests. And we had June 4th, UK freed. And August 26th, France freed. And you see down September 1st, he is there updating FEMA right there. And if you look there, you see Vice President Pence in Poland. You take the words Poland and flip them around, it's do plan, D-O, plan. And then you see what his tweet was on September 1st, where he did this update, and it was about Dorian. And if you take all the capital letters from Dorian, you can see that it brings to 174. From Gematria perspective, it's storm is coming. Trust the plan. So what is the decoded message? As POTUS returned to the FEMA National Response Coordination Center on September 1st, 2019 to give an update on the plan and to address Dorian, VP Mike Pence is in Poland. Poland rearranged his do plan and validates the maestro's retweet of the NHC, that's the National Hurricane Center, where he codes that the storm is coming and to trust the plan. The plan positions Dorian as the first domestic manifestation of the global ripple effect. Q 1953. Global equals reflection of local. Think mirror, nor your enemy. Every battle is won before it's ever fought. Knowledge is power. Q. That's Q1953. You got to love. That's one of my favorite parts about SB2T decodes, how he brings current events and then relates them right back to this future proves past Q drops from the past. With this example of power of Melania's wardrobe, we can now fly to Biarritz and try to decode all the messages she sent us and how they are related to the major world events. From her departure from DC on October 23rd, 2019 to her return on October 26th, 2019, she made 7 fashion picks to send 7 messages. So here's the fashion picks. You'll see here she wearing a Chanel jacket, a Chanel bag, a J brand, Louis Vuitton. Here she is, Calvin Klein, Louis Vuitton on August 24th. August 24th, the second outfit, a Gucci, Louis Vuitton. Here she is on August 15th, back to Calvin Klein again. Notice that, with Hermes and a Louis Vuitton. Here you are on a red dress on October 25th with Alexander McQueen with Louis Vuitton. Then you have 6, it actually changes to Alaya versus many people expected it to come Calvin Klein. We'll talk about that in a second. And some more Louis Vuitton. Then you have here she is with Michael Kors and Hermes and J brand and Louis Vuitton. So can you solve? And so that's what he's going to go over. He's going to solve it with us. Let's start with the outfit 2. POTUS and FLOTUS have just landed in France. We're talking about this one right here. Okay. Did you make the connection between Melania's yellow dress and the yellow vests? I gave you a hint in part 2 when I said since then, the yellow vest movement, blew up the French deficit and like a termite has begun to gnaw at the French economy. The key word was termite. Are you familiar with the purple termite flower? Here's the solution. Fashion and GDP points. So you'll see here she is with this huge flower there, which happens to be the Hermocalis purple termite. So that's obviously the key word is termite here. Yellow vest and Macron's honeymoon. Here we are on November 20th, 2018. Worst of yellow vest economic impact in France yet to come, Senate says here. This is the June 17th, 2016 article, and you can see some of these pictures of this yellow vest protest after yellow vest protest after a weekend of yellow protest after more yellow vest protest after more yellow vest protests, and you can see Macron being pretty stressed about it. Here's the decoded message. At landing, Melania's dress reminds President Macron of the slow yet devastating impact of the yellow vest movement on the French economy. The budget deficit blew up with a 10 billion euros concession to protesters, and GDP points are now affected. Termites. So that was the first of the 7 messages with her dress. Then, when Macron received his cold shower from POTUS, we talked about that in the last decode, FLOTUS chose a beige Gucci dress with a front belt chain. She tweeted about Francis's coming changes and coded in the image sizes, besides confirming it was freed from the cabal. Melania's hidden message on the French conquest. So here you are. Here's a tweet from her on the G7 summit. You take all the capital letters from that. It's 103. That can mean clean house. So the decode message for this first one is France is one. I'm sorry, now let me kind of go over here first because there's more of these. There's all these pictures that have certain sizes. If you take those sizes, it can be gematria for some of these long, famous phrases as well. And so before I get into the 2 decodes, let's look at those. Like here's this 1200 by 799s. There's 3 of them there. So he picked 3 different sayings out of it. Thou lovest wickedness more than goodness. Thou lovest to speak unrighteousness more than righteousness. Talking about the cabal, obviously. There is no one greater than this house than I am, and he has not withheld from me anything at all except you, because you are his wife. Talking about Melania and Trump, I believe there. I will go down with thee into Egypt, and I will also surely bring thee up again, and Joseph shall put his hand upon thine eyes. So I think it's talking about the spiritual conquest is about ready to happen. And Judah and his brethren came to Joseph's house, for he was yet there, and they fell before him on the ground. Again, this gematria would match back up to these numbers. And see, brethren came to Joseph's house, for he was yet there, and they fell before him on the ground. So that was submission. So submission of all of Joseph's brothers back to him, right, in the Bible. So that's about the whole submission that France did. So here's the decodes of all that information. France is won the bastion of the cabal, and Macron's 66.06% score at the presidential election and his ties with the Rothschilds were a clear indication that they were in control and that they were going to implement a social project based on their satanic beliefs and the alteration of the French family, as illustrated by the normalizing first couple. Decoded message 2 of 2. Melania's dress belt chain indicated the prey was successfully secured, and the color migrating from brown to white, symbolizing the cleansing of the French house. After the conquest and the announcement of the house cleaning process, Melania walked with us into the streets of Espelette and tweeted 4 images to let us know that the final stage of this process is to bring God and family back to center stage. Wow, wouldn't that be nice? Because France has been going the wrong direction there. BCBG culture. I noticed we had somebody from UK on. I wonder if we ever have anybody from France on, although it's a little harder with the language barrier. But here's her 4 tweets. And you can see some of them are the size of these pictures again. So they're big, long, famous statements of some sort. And then you see here all the capital letters in this tweet. Is 5 bon chick bon genre. Gosh, what am I trying to say? And so then you got these 3 big pictures here. And this one says, I always thought that as a catcher, it's better to keep the hand I throw with behind my back to keep it protected. And it says, listen not to the church that hates the tree but loves the fruit, or vice versa. No one belongs here more than you. The only place I would hear that would be the zoo. People are not good without God. We need a higher purpose to overcome our sinful and selfish impulses. So that famous statement, going to the size of this picture, is really interesting. So here's his message that he thinks it is of all that. The decoded message is, Melania denounces the bon chick bon genre, or political correctness hypocritical culture consisting of eluding values and real social issues to replace them with slogans and deceitful shortcuts. She is warning of the dangers of a society without God and belief system that claim to love the child while hating the family, or vice versa. Her white bag is bigger than that departure. See how much bigger that is right there? France is in the bag. Her outfit is now completely white. France sent to the cleaners. She later confirms her thinking with her next tweet, in which she reports on her interaction with the French youth. This time, because of the exclusive spiritual connotation of the message, she chose to use the Jewish gematria system, the programmed spiritual decadence of Europe. You can see here she's talking about this biodiversity, beautiful program in this tweet. And if you take the capital letters, it's 45, which can mean kite. Kite also, if you look at this Merriam-Webster dictionary, you're going to see it can also mean a person who preys on others. And we know a lot of that's going on in France. If you take the size of this picture, it can mean false spirituality. Size of this picture, beauty from ashes. And then you can see here in this size of this picture can mean United States of Europe. Pretty interesting. And then here's another picture size that says, I hate this reality. So the whole decoded message is this. Melania brings the word kite to our attention. It's a kid toy, but it's also a person who preys on others. Under the disguise of solving environmental issues, and issues like the kid in the ocean aim at brainwashing the youth with the ultimate goal of programming them with false spirituality and detaching them from their cultural roots and heritage. Through this covert process, the youth is progressively stripped of its spiritual wealth and at best just becomes a physical beauty surrounding spiritual ashes. This is the reality Flotus hates and that she is fighting against. The next day, Flotus tweeted a 51-second long video summarizing her activities during the G7 and coded that, in addition to the fight to protect the youth we went through earlier on another one, more subtle, also needed to be fought. Let's see if you can spot it. Read the tweet and watch the video. So here's a link. It's going to pull us out of this, unfortunately. So we're right above image 10. So we'll come back to that in a second. So here's Melania's tweet. It says, G7 in Biarritz was a great opportunity to spend time with other spouses during this important summit. Thank you, Brigitte Macron, for hosting a very engaging program that included visits to the charming town and engaging with some of the French youth. Okay, but watch this video real carefully. All right, and there's some pretty cool things there. I think he points to, I can't remember if it was 23 seconds. He was pointing out all these different things, but you saw that picture of the rock several times. We'll kind of come back to that right there. That's the Virgin, and you see the people walking through that at that side, etc. We're going to come back to that in a second. So let's look back at this. So right after image 10, let's see where we are. Image 13:10, here we are. So it says, did you catch it? Looking at that video. Flotus gave us a hint at 28 seconds where the video shows an open door to a garden. That was the door you needed to take to solve her riddle. Look. So you can see right here, here's the door at 28 seconds. Here's the door to solve the riddle. And then at 29 seconds, first you need to notice the Biarritz lighthouse. You can see that's behind all this picture here, the lighthouse there's again, and try to find how it's connected to power. And for this, you need to go to the beach, like when I went. And here you got 37 seconds, there's the beach, to the beach, to watch the young surfers with the other first ladies. And find out why I turned my head. So she turned her head away at that point in time. So it says, you know why she turned her head away, right? She was showing lack of interest, just like the maestro did when Macron was talking at her first meeting. Watch until 2:42. Now I'm not going to play this because we played this last time.
And fix the situation in terms of
here he goes.
trade exchanges. Because
watch him look away.
I think if we manage to fix the situation,
he's not even interested.
7 of us.
He wasn't even interested. He turned away because as he was sitting there blabbing before he basically showed, I got everything on you, dude. You better start changing your ways or all their tax evasion stuff's coming out and you're going to be in jail the rest of your life. Take your choice. And so anyway, crazy stuff. That's all there is. Now we need to go to the 26-second mark in the video. We see performers dancing a jig. Value for jig? Yes, 26. Coincidence? Then we notice 26 equals 7 plus 9 plus 10. And if we go to the 7, 9, and 10 second marks of the video, we see the rock of the Virgin is invariably shown. Look, and this is what I was focusing on earlier. Focus on the rock of the Virgin coded in the jig. There it is. At 10 seconds, it's at 9 seconds, and it's at 7 seconds. At 26 seconds, you see the jig going on. And you take the 10, 9, 7, it's J-I-G. So you look at this, and here's the decoded message. This is pure beauty. Not only jig equals 26 is at the 26-second mark, showing performers dancing a jig, but the J equals 10, I equals 9, and G equals 7. 9-second marks of the video all point to the Rock of the Virgin. We deduce this is what FLOTUS wants us to focus on. We see at the 9-second mark that while the other 3 First Ladies are looking toward the statue, FLOTUS is not. Her head is turned in the direction of the water and does not seem to be interested in going through the tunnel. Why? As you can see, it's time to investigate this iconic Barat's landmark from this article. And you can go look at this article and learn a lot more about this whole landmark here that they call the Rock of the Virgin. We gather the historic data, and using other picture angles, we can decode Melania's message. The Rock of the Virgin, here's part of what you would read there about this. The Rock of the Virgin is an iconic Barat's landmark. The rock owes its name to the statue of the Virgin Mary looking out to sea from atop the rocky outcrop since 1865. Legend has it that the fishermen from the port of Barat's were caught in a terrible storm while out at sea hunting whales. A divine light guided them back to the port, and the survivors erected a statue to the Virgin Mary in gratitude. Napoleon III decided to cut a tunnel through the rock and had a bridge built to make it accessible from the seafront to the first wooden bridge. Did not withstand the crashing waves in the Atlantic Ocean. However, in 1887, Gustav Eiffel was instructed to design a metal bridge which still stands today. A pleasant stroll takes across the bridge to enjoy a stunning view of the Basque coastline. But it has another meaning too. Here you go. You got the Virgin Mary. You got some crosses on nearby rocks. And you can see the water goes this way and the path goes this way, forming a cross. Human flow goes this way. Water flow goes this way. You can see it a little closer here. Water flow through Napoleon's where he cut a rock through. And then the humans go this way. And so the decoded message is behind the poetic story about fishermen saved from a storm by a divine light and the statue erected as a sign of gratitude hides a very sinister secret. The perpendicularity of the human flow above and the water flow below represents the crucifixion of the statue. These crossings, flows were made on purpose by Napoleon III, who was well aware of the secret of sacred architecture and how to use it for power purposes. In this particular case of the statue presented to visitors as the statue of the Virgin Mary, the energy collected by the crossing of the 2 flows is part of the Cabal's Antichrist agenda and its effort to metaphysically oppose Christ and socially destroy the family cell, which is the building block of a healthy society ruled by divine principles. That's real interesting. When I talk about the 7 mountains of cultural influence in my cultural impact system, right? One of them is family, right? It's a really important part of this whole deal. And we can now analyze the tweet further and decode the capital letters and the video length. A very engaging program. So we look at Melania's tweet here again. It's talking about these 3 major things about a very engaging program, charming towns, and France's youth. If you look at the capital letters there, you get 50, which could be fight. And 51, one off, is giant. It's a giant fight. And you'll see the one coming out later. But here you have the very engaging program. A spiritual and political war to reform France and restore the family. Charming towns. Eliminate the architectural devices disseminated throughout the country for metaphysical and mind control purposes. France's youth. Deliver the youth from the cabal's child abuse, pedophilia, child sacrifices, and mass mind control. So here's the decoded message. In her latest tweet during her stay in Biarritz, FLOTUS quoted the summary of the program, prepared to resurrect France from the centuries of attacks from the satanic cabal and Freemasonry in particular. Her very engaging program includes 2 essential components. 1, protect and preserve the youth. And number 2, deactivate architectural devices charged with satanic occult capabilities. That is really interesting, isn't it? It's like, woo, pretty wild stuff is what's going on there. Now, if we look at, I see what happened. The GBDF, this was all the capital letters were 50, and 51 was the length of the movie. Okay? So that's why I tell you what, the gematria and the values that he has, it always ties back. He does a great job here, SB2 does. Now, in the time to decode the red Alexander McQueen dress, Melania dresses for the G7 Evenings Festivals on August 25th, 2019. For this, we need to analyze the context and recap. We are at the evening of the second day of the G7, and the trade war with China has reached a tension threshold never before reached, as illustrated here.
President Trump tweeting right now, for many years, China and many other countries has been taking advantage of the United States on trade, intellectual property theft, and much more. Our country has been losing hundreds of billions of dollars a year to China with no end in sight. It continues. Sadly, past administrations have allowed China to get so far ahead of fair and balanced trade that it has become a great burden to the American taxpayer. As president, I can no longer allow this to happen. In the spirit of achieving fair trade, we must balance this very unfair trading relationship. China should not have put new tariffs on $75 billion of U.S. product, politically motivated, starting on October 1st. The $250 billion of goods and products from China currently being taxed at 25% will be taxed at 30%. Additionally, the remaining $300 billion of goods and products from China that was being taxed from September 1st at 10% will now be taxed at 15%. Thank you for your attention to this matter.
That was hardball playing with Trump there. And he says, and while China is stuck with these new tariffs and has to deal with the termite play on its Hong Kong variation, as seen in image 3, right? So we remember that termite play there on Hong Kong. The maestro scores string of diplomatic successes. For example, here in trade with his friend Abe from Japan. I'm not going to play this, but that was a big deal with Japan. Or here with his friend Boris Johnson strategizing a Brexit and historic trade deal. And I thought this was kind of a cute video, so I'm going to play this one.
Well, we covered 3 subjects. We were meant to cover 10 subjects. In the end, we did 3.
3 that we'll talk about.
We did 3 in detail.
Mr. President, do you have any advice from Boris Johnson on Brexit?
He needs no advice. He's the right man for the job. I've been saying that for a long time. Didn't make your predecessor very happy, but I've been saying it for a long time. He's the right man for the job.
You're on message there. I'm grateful. I'm very grateful for that. And we're looking forward to having some pretty comprehensive talks about how to take forward the relationship in all sorts of ways, particularly on trade. And we're very excited about that.
We're having very good trade talks between UK and ourselves. We're going to do a very big trade deal, bigger than we've ever had with the UK. And now they won't have, at some point, they won't have the obstacle of, they won't have the anchor around their ankle, because that's what they had. So we're going to have some very good trade talks.
The anchor around their ankle being obviously the EU. So that is pretty cool. I thought that was awesome. Or here in Canada, with defeated Trudeau made to sit by the U.S. flag. So you can see right here, when they sit down, he has to sit down by the U.S. flag, right? I think that was the whole point there. And the list goes on. As to France, as said earlier, the termite message was sent and received through Calvin Klein. Macron was defeated through Gucci. And the next day, Melania walked in the streets of SB2 in Calvin Klein with her spoils of war in her Hermes bag, which was a much bigger bag than the Chanel bag, which she was last seen with when taking off. Do you see the pattern? She alternated Calvin Klein with other designers. This message were perfectly read by the cabal, which after realizing that they had lost France and that the world was willingly or unwillingly uniting around the maestro, had to spend the night decoding Melania's beautiful red Alexander McQueen's dress before things get really ugly. Do you see it? Melania sent the early alternation on Calvin Klein to send the message to the cabal that after her Alexander McQueen dress, that red one, chances were very high that she would wear Calvin Klein the next day. The cabal had to simulate that possibility and analyze what it meant. If you identified this Calvin Klein alternation and run its simulation, you get the following explosive message. Now this is fun. Watch this. Look at this. Look at the screen if you can. So here's the, all these different times and where she went from Calvin Klein to Gucci to Calvin Klein to Alexander. So they're saying, oh my goodness, she's going to go back to Calvin Klein, and that was going to mean what? Well, if you look at the first three events, and you take all the capital letters of each of the first letters, it goes to 35, which means China. But if you take the next three ones, if you did Calvin Klein again, it equals 59, which means renegade. That's right. Hussein's SS code name was renegade. Decoded message. We write the designer's initials and extract the message. The Macron operations conducted through Calvin Klein and Gucci leads to GCK equals 35 equals China. After this operation in the event, FLOTUS continues to alternate with Calvin Klein with her Alexander McQueen dress. We get CQAMQ, CQ, which is 59, renegade. The message to the cabal is clear. China, the world is uniting around the U.S. You are losing Hong Kong through the termite play. You lost France and Macron. Hussein is next on the list. Calvin Klein? It was a threat that they're going to expose Obama right away. As you can see, as the world was falling apart in front of their eyes, trying to recede from FLOTUS, a very simple question. Do you want things to escalate? If yes, I'm Calvin Klein ready. Well, that very night after Biarritz Festival, China called and officially stated that they hoped for a calm resolution to the tariff war. The maestro tweeted about it and made the headlines of those who report the news. The turning point, China hopes for calm resolution. So you can see here in this tweet, great respect to the fact that President Xi and his representatives want calm resolution. And that was put at 4:30 p.m. was the tweet. If you look at the capital letters, I for an I. If you look at the actual 4:30 was the a.m. was the actual time. So you go to 4:30 as the drop, and it says, we already knew this though. And then here's the Market Watch talking about calm, that China's top trade official said he hopes for a calm resolution to the tariff war. Decoded message. The maestro's retaliation on China tariffs against the U.S. was the right thing to do, an eye for an eye. But when the opposing party shows signs of willingness to settle disputes calmly, it is also the right thing to do to give peace and talks a chance. With the intel we have about things going on behind the scenes, we already knew this would happen though. Now, then we asked about China's new stance and their use of the word calm. Here's the maestro's response. Notice how many times he uses the word calm.
Calm.
Calm, exactly. Just wondering if you could clarify what you meant about the call. Is that with Mr. Lighthizer?
I don't want to talk about calls. We've had calls. We've had calls at the highest levels, but I don't want to talk about that. But the vice chairman put out a statement last night that was a statement and saying that he wants to make a deal and he wants calm. And I think it's a very good word to use, calm. It's not a word that I use that often, but it's a good word to use. And I think it's one of the reasons it's a great country. I mean, they understand. I think that that message also helps with respect to Hong Kong. I really do. I think it makes it easier for Hong Kong to do something. And I think that President Xi will do something with Hong Kong. I really think that message is a good message with respect to what the ultimate outcome is in Hong Kong. Very, very positive message. And we appreciated it.
All right. Do you know why the maestro liked to use for the word calm and why he and China emphasized it? Because it made FLOTUS change her initial Calvin Klein choice to Elia. Read very carefully. So you can see instead of doing Calvin Klein, she traded back to something that says A, and that means calm, Q. So the decoded message of all that is China's request is accepted. FLOTUS cancels the Calvin Klein threat and wears a dress from Elia, and the next day her pick is a direct response to China, and it's signed Calm Q. Now, I have a question for you. Are you tired of winning yet? We can now gather Melania's 7 outfits with their corresponding decodes in a synthetic image. Enjoy. There it is, the power of Melania's wardrobe. So there she is, the first wardrobe, talking about about a nice game of chess. And then you can see the purple termite flower showing the termites are coming to France and Hong Kong. Pawns well positioned. Let's begin. And you can see with here you've got the chains from brown to white. Macron in chains. House cleaning. The bigger white bag. Diplomatic success. France freed from the cabal. Big plans to undo their destruction. The red dress here. China. I heard you like red. Calvin Klein next. Your move. The alternative, as always, have Aaliyah in case Calvin Klein is too strong. And there's her last outfit there. It was basically bigger day. France and diplomatic success. Cabal defeated in France and rebranding. China wants to talk. Let's call it a day. Will floaters confirm anything unhandy tonight? Q 2618. Only her beauty and love of country. Q. Woo! Guys, that's some big stuff happening at the G7. Big stuff happening at the G7. And I tell you what, there's so much more stuff going on behind the scenes than we get to see. It's crazy. I'm not going to really have time to go through a lot of this other news. I'll go over that tomorrow or Friday. I'm going to have Mark Taylor live here on Friday. I know we haven't had him for a while, so join me. Make sure you go to my Blessed Teach site to get the show notes. They're right here. And each one of those, especially the SB2 decodes, I'm actually going to the Reddit and bringing each of the files down so you can see all of this will be readily accessible for you without even having to click, right? You'll be able to see all of these decodes. So again, join me on going to Blessed to Teach with the number 2, and obviously you can come to the front page and put your email in. I'll send those decode / show notes to you each day. The easiest way is to go to contact us, and you can actually send me an email too. Let me know how things are going, have any prayer requests or whatever, and then also subscribe to kill 2 birds with 1 stone right there. All right, guys. Also, Prepare with Rick and Water with Rick's up. Water with Rick, which is I guess sold out 3 times. Has a big sale at $169 for this Alexa Pure Pro water filtration system. Takes out heavy metals, fluoride, chlorine. Remember, you need clean water for the food, which is preparewithrick.com. So preparewithrick.com or waterwithrick.com to make sure you are prepared with food and water for any emergencies with all this silent war going on between everybody. All right, I don't have time to go over a Mark Taylor decode, which I was going to go over, but I'll go over this Bible verse of Galatians 1:8. But if even we or an angel from heaven should preach another gospel other than the one we preach to you, let them be under God's curse. Woo, some strong language from Paul there. So Apostle Paul basically says in Galatians 1:8, he's been preaching all over the simplicity of 100% Jesus and 0% you, and accepting Jesus as your Savior. And you don't have to do all the Jewish laws. He was very clear about that, right? You just need to accept Jesus as your Savior. That's the gospel, the simplicity of the gospel. All other religions in the world teach that you have to do works to get to heaven. There's only one that says no, it has nothing to do with works. It's 0% you. It's 100% Jesus. Once you recognize you're a sinner, and you need that is a true gospel. That's why I always say, let's concentrate on the right God, the right Jesus, and the right gospel. This is talking about if you don't have the right gospel, and he says, but even if we change our mind, right? Or an angel from heaven should preach another gospel other than the one we preach to you, let them be under God's curse. It's a very strong warning, guys, to understand what the true gospel is. Any other gospel that's changed or altered, that's what Satan does. He tries to take that purity and simplicity of the gospel, and he tries to tear it apart. And he tries to twist it and fool you and add works to it. As soon as you do that, you just basically have a different gospel, and it won't work. It's like changing the key, and the car's not going to work in the Maserati anymore, right? You have to have the exact right key. So make sure you have that right key. That key is Jesus Christ. Let me pray. Heavenly Father, just thank you so much for Galatians 1:8 and all the books that Paul wrote to clearly show us what the gospel is all about. that we are sinful, as Romans 3:23 talks about, that the wages of sin is death, and that the only way that we're going to get to heaven is having the perfect life of Christ covering us, the blood of Christ covering us, that free gift that we need to accept. Thank you, Lord, for your truth of your true gospel, and just to allow us to be used in a mighty way for your kingdom. Protect the president, protect all the white hats, protect everybody that's listening to my voice, Lord, and give them an extra dose of wisdom and discernment. Allow me to not only be able to speak truth on this channel and be corrected whenever I'm wrong, Lord. I love these people, Lord, so just bless their lives and their families. And we say these things in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen. All right, guys, there we are. We burned up the hour, and just wanted to say thank you all for being here. What a crazy time to get a great decode on G7 wins. That really helped us soften up the sting of 9/11, because we see the tide turning where the truth of 9/11 and this evil century-old plus cabal is going to be destroyed. And we're seeing it right before our eyes. What a time to be alive. This is the Blessed Teach Show here on Wednesday, September 11th. God bless you guys. Love you. Talk to you next time.